the rulings of amulets into different types, those that are of the Quran and those that are not of the Quran. As for any amulet that is not of the Quran, if the person believes it benefits them and harms them besides Allah, they leave Islam. And if they believe that it has no benefit to them, but they wear it anyway, then they've committed the worst of the major sins. I.e., they have not reached the level of shirk, but they've committed one of the major sins in terms of an innovation. That's if they don't believe it has any benefit at all. Here's an example of hair wrapped up in a kind of like a coil over rope. Here we have shoes that have the sihr stitched inside of them. Here we have examples of amulets and talismans, and we're going to show some more examples of those later. And here this was written inside a material and sewn inside women's clothing. So they had a time in Riyadh where what was happening was a number of women were becoming very sick, and they thought that there was a plague. And they traced this plague back. It wasn't a plague. It was a sahir who had sewn magic into a number of abayat, like women's abaya, and they had given the abayat and sold them in the market, and so the Hayat al-Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar were able to go and to recall those things. Have examples of pouches, metal containers, locks and keys that have the magic built into them. Dead birds, dead animals. This is the tooth or the foot of something or other. This is an example of magic that is to be burnt. So it's inside of it there are papers. Each paper says burn at a certain time. Burn at a certain time. We're going to cover the ruling on that and how to dispose of it in a moment. This is another example of papers that have been opened and what's inside. Notice these symbols and signs. We're going to learn what they mean, insha'Allah ta'ala. The person's name is written here. You see Sa'ad, the person's name is written there, and the person's name is written there, and inside there are each of these symbols. These symbols here have a particular name. They're known as a seal, as in S-E-A-L, a seal, as in a khatam, a seal, something you seal them by. And they're called the seal of the magician, Khatam as-Sahir. An example of incense that is to be burnt and papers that are to be burnt alongside the incense. This is an example of some that are hung. This is an example of papers put in water, and the water is given to a person to drink. And this may be with their knowledge or without their knowledge. They may come to them and say to them, put this paper in, mix it in the water, drink a bit of the water every day. The same things are written just like this, these kind of symbols and signs. And we're going to learn what those symbols and signs mean, insha'Allah ta'ala. This is an example of things which are not sihr, but they are beliefs that people have. You tie a black cloth and it protects your car. You tie something to the front of your car and it protects it from accidents. This is an example of belief that lead people into sihr. These things that are hung from, these are the hands of Fatima. This is an example of sihr sewn into clothing. That's spot on. So there we have clothing that has the sihr and the amulets drawn and stitched into the clothing. Here this one is stitched into clothing as well. Look at squares, symbols, talismans, amulets, locks. People say, I mean, when you talk about magic developing, magic doesn't really develop in the sense that the same magic is done, that has always been done and that was taught and that the people learned. But of course they find new ways to implement it. So instead of tying knots, they may use padlocks. And they will tie the knots around the padlock. So they will tie the padlock, and around the padlock they will tie the requisite number of knots. Eggs. These are eggs that have writing on. These eggs are either to be smashed or they're to be put in a certain place. Every number, the number of eggs and the numbers written on the eggs has a meaning, and we're going to learn it insha'Allah ta'ala. Rings. The inside of that brass ring has got some of the names of the shayateen written inside of it. And we're going to talk about how to destroy that, because you can't burn it, it won't go away. Here we have some incense. This is mixed of various different kinds of incense. Some of it we use in the masjid, And there's nothing wrong with that. But when the incense, there's nothing wrong with the incense that is used when the intention is to perfume. But incense to bring the shaitan, to draw away the shaitan, this is from the types of incense that is used in magic. Birds, notice here, the bird has the talisman tied to its foot and it's left to fly in the air, and the person will suffer wherever the bird lands, and however the bird flies, the person will begin to suffer from it. This is the same example of the one that was inserted into the private parts of the woman who is menstruating in order to disgrace the Quran and the speech of Allah Azza wa Jal. The description of the magician is briefly mentioned here. The magician, sitting in places of filth and unclean places, disgracing the Quran, doing immorality, having an evil smell, and so on and so forth. He is appearing to be a pious person. He's eating or devouring the wealth of the people in falsehood, and he's claiming for himself rububiyyah, one of the signs of the magician. And again, you may find these in all magicians, you may find in some magicians. You may not find every description in every magician. This is very, very, very important. This is talking about the stars and astrology. Do not see them as completely separate things. Fortune telling and astrology has a key part to play in regular magic. We're going to see this is the star signs, and each of the star signs is associated with an element of the earth. And I want you to write this down. One of the 4 elements, 4 elements are earth, fire, air, water. Each star sign is associated with one of those 4 elements. This is not true. This is all complete rubbish. But this is what the magicians use. Just because you're born in a time when you're supposed to be fiery doesn't mean you're fiery. Alhamdulillah, we don't take these omens. We say, oh Allah, there is no omen except from you, and there is no good except from you, and there is no God worthy of worship except for you. But this is what the magicians do. This is the knowledge they have. They divide people into one of the 4 elements: earth, fire, air, and water. And they adjust their magic according to the elements. We're going to see how in a moment. Here we have palm reading, reading the tea leaves, another form of fortune telling. Throwing the seeds, seashells. Throw the seashells, however they land, they determine the issue that you're asking about. Date seeds and likewise cardamom seeds. Using them, they throw them, they look at how they make the pattern, and they tell the future from it. Reading sand, pictures in the sand, pictures in the ashes. They burn coal, and they throw the coal over the person, and how it appears, they then say, yes, this is going to happen to you, and that is going to happen to you, and they lie. The candles, white, red, and green. These colors are very significant. They use them regularly. Red associated with love, associated with bringing people together. Bear that in mind. Red is associated with love and with bringing people together, because we're going to cover that in a moment. They have white and they have green. These are the star signs according to how the magicians divide them into fire, water, air, and earth. So they divide 3 into fire, and 3 into water, 3 into air, and 3 into earth. These are some of the beliefs people have, the hand of Fatima and so on and so forth. It's not magic in of itself. And this is very important, because many of the amulets you're going to see are not going to be magic of themselves, but they are going to be a means to seek nearness to the shaitan and a means to weaken the person's iman. This hand of Fatima does not contain sihr by the meaning of the word, but what it contains is a belief that this hand will protect you besides Allah Azza wa Jal. Once you believe that, you're open for any magic to attack you, because you no longer have your shield of Tawheed. Here we have some stitched into some fur and material and various other different things. Now we begin to understand how the magician writes the amulets. The first thing, guys, I want you to write down: not every magician can write and calculate. There are magicians who do things the literate way, and magicians who do things the illiterate way. Okay? So there are magicians that do things by writing, and magicians that do things the simple way, the village way, like they call it. They call them village magicians here in England. the witch of the village or the witch of the town, they don't write. But they have alternatives to the writing. And the alternatives are based on the same system. Here, brothers, you can see a table. And I'll just mention the table quickly to you so that you can, if you don't have it, you can sort of keep it in mind. Alif is equal to 1, Ba is equal to 2, Jim 3, Dal 4, Ha 5, Waw 6, Zai 7, Ha 8, Ta 9, Ya 10, Kaf 20, Lam 30, Mim 40, Noon 50, Sin 60, Ain 70, Fa 80, Sad 90, Qaf 100, Ra 200, Sheen 300, Ta 400, Tha 500, Kha 600, Dhal 700, Dad 800, Dha 900, Ghain 1000. We'll inshallah show you a copy of this later on. Don't worry about it. What do the magicians do with this? Why am I telling you this for the first time? I'm not telling you so that you get all amazed about what the magicians do, or so that you say, oh, at least now I have a backup career if my existing career fails. No. I'm telling you so that you can understand what these things mean. These ta'aweed, these circles with these numbers in, what they mean. This is what they mean. What is your proof, O Muhammad? Are you reading books of the magicians again? No, 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 no. My proof is from Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, that Ibn Abbas said, there are a people who write abajad. Alif, Ba, Jim, Dal, Abjad, Hawaz. Abjad, Hawaz, Hutti, Kellim. There are people who write abajad. Look at the knowledge of Ibn Abbas. Look at how he understands. A people who write abajad. They write Abjad, Hawaz, Hutti, Kellim. And then so on and so forth. So the first row, Abjad, Hawaz, Hutti, Kellimn. People who write abajad. What do they do with abajad? They look up in the stars. What did he say? ينظرون في النجوم ما أرى من فعل ذلك له عند الله من خلاق. I do not believe that this person has any reward in the sight of Allah Azza wa Jal for anything that they do. Subhanallah. What is this action Ibn Abbas is describing? Abjad, and then looking at the stars. This is the essence of what the magicians do to perform their magic. Ibn Abbas understood the essence of what the magicians do to perform their magic. What do? The first thing they do is they take your name, and what do they take along with it? Your mother's name. And between the two they write bin, ba, noon, not ibn. Bin, ba, noon. Girl, boy, they don't care. Magicians don't recognize male and female in this regard. Everyone, male or female, they write bin, ba, noon. So they write your name, bin, and then your mother's name, whether you're male or female. What do? For each letter, they calculate its value. So bin, for example, I think is 52. And they add that on, they add them all together, and they come up with a number. So let's just look as an example of someone who doesn't exist. Muhammad ibn Aisha. Muhammad ibn Aisha. Someone get their phone out, get their calculators out. Muhammad ibn Aisha. Muhammad. They take the meme. Where's the meme on there? 40. Put 40 down. Then they take the ha, 8. It's 48. Then they take the meme, that's 40, so we have 88. Then they take the dal, and that's 4, which gives us 92. Then they add 52 for bin. Okay? So now we have 144. Then they take Aisha, Ain, 70. Alif and Hamza, they do exactly the same. So 1 for the A, 1. Okay, so 71. And then they take the Hamza again, another 1. A, I, Hamza again, another 1. And then they take the sheen, which is 300. And then they take the ha, ta marbuta, which is the ha, which is 5. Anyone add those up? 521. Add that to 144. Do we say 144? What do you get? 665. So the number that is produced by the magician for Muhammad ibn Aisha, 665. What does the magician do? He continues to divide it by 12 until he gets a number between 1 and 12. So the first time he divides it, what does he get? He divides 665 by 12, what do you get? 55. Then he divides it again by 12. 4.6. 6 and above, not 5 and above, 6 and above, they round up. 5 and below, they round down. 6 and above, they round it up. So what do they get? 5. So here we have this miskeen person who the person is going to do sihr on them. He has the number 5 to the chart of the elements. And they begin to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, they come up with it and they say, for example, I'll give you an example. They say, it's difficult to see on there. They say that 5 is, maybe that says earth. I can't see, it's very, very difficult to see. In any case, they say earth. What are they going to do when they come up with earth? Who knows? What are they going to do when they come up with earth? What are they going to do with the ta'weez? Bury it in the ground, bury it in the grave, bury it in the soil. This was found buried partially in the soil. Why is it buried in the soil? Because the calculation of the person it worked out as was turabi, someone who was a soil person, an earth person, or in the sand or in the grave. If they're a person of fire, what are they going to do with it? Put bukhur, put incense and burn it. If they're a person of water, what are they going to do with it? Put it in water, in the sewer, in the toilet, in the water, in the sea, in the river. If they, and so on and so forth. If they're a person of air, what did we see in the previous videos? The bird, or hang it on a tree so that it blows in the wind. This is the action of the magicians. And I'm just giving you a brief overview. There's more to learn than that, but that gives you a brief overview. This set of numbers is very important for deciphering the ta'weed. You can open the ta'weed, and the numbers refer to names, and they refer to names, and they refer to letters. So we can take these corners that have the numbers in, and we can say the first number that we have is the number 1. So this is a number 1 is an alif or a hamza. And then after that, these are somewhat difficult to read because we were arguing over what the numbers were. We have what I think is an 8. So we have a ha, or it may be a 6, which is a wow. And then they have at the front what looks like a 7, which is a zai. So they have here zah or zaw, depending on whatever they're writing. These are names of the shayateen that they come to see close to the shaitan in. Every ta'weed, take this number chart, start decoding it. Sometimes there are number charts that are different from this one. We're going to look at some of them, but as you learn, you'll learn more. Don't go around asking people for their names and their mother's names so you work out whether they're buried in the earth. They'll think you're a magician. But just in general, it gives you, it just gives you an idea. Sometimes the magician gets it wrong. It's said in a weak narration, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best, in a weak narration, that the Labid ibn al-A'sam calculated Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's name wrong. He calculated as Muhammad ibn Halima and not Muhammad ibn Amina. It's said in a weak narration. Weak narration, it's not authentic. If that's true, they said that's why the sihr didn't work. And Allah Azza wa Jal knows best, and it didn't work because Allah Azza wa Jal didn't will it to work. But it is genuinely true that there are times when the magician gets it completely wrong. But in general, this is how they do their work. These are what the numbers mean in general. We went to Cornwall, we found the same numbers in the English Museum with the English equivalents. A was 1, B was 2, J or C was 3, D was 4, H was 5, W was 6, so on and so on. The same numbers, the same codes written, one of them we found, the same names of the shayateen that are written in this ta'weed here. We found the same names written on top of male genitalia with blood dropping out of it in a Dutch magician's house. Never seen, heard of Islam. And he writes the names of the shayateen, the same names, and he writes them in this to cause the person not to be fertile, to cause the person to become infertile. So he wrote it a male genitalia, and inside he wrote the same 9 boxes, and in each one he wrote a code, the same thing here, one of the names of, or 3 of the names of the shayateen, in order to bring them near to the shaitan. Let's look for a second at the next list. This one is the same letters, but this time we have symbols. Can you see there are kind of funny symbols? So along with alif, alif kind of looks like a straight line. But if you look at dal, dal looks like the Arabic word ala. Ala. There's something that looks like a mushroom or an umbrella, which is representing ha. Why am I showing this to you guys? So that you recognize that on the ta'weed, they may not write the symbols in Arabic letters. They may write them in this code. This is called Alkalamul Ruhani. Why is it called Ruhani? They believe that every ayah, from the Mubtadi'ah, we said, who is carrying the knowledge in Islam? The people of Bid'ah. What do they say? They say that every ayah has a spirit, a guardian spirit. A Ruhani. Every ayah has a guardian spirit. And when you disgrace the ayah or you call upon the ayah, they say call upon the ayah, but in reality they disgrace it. What do? They believe the guardian spirit of the ayah comes to serve them. Shayateen, jinn. But this is what they believe. We write Ayatul Kursi in a certain way with these numbers, and the guardian spirit of Ayatul Kursi, who is in reality a jinn from the shayateen, will come and he will serve me when I write Ayatul Kursi in a certain way. That's what they believe. Al-Qalam al-Ruhani, the symbols they believe in. These symbols are present in the ta'weed. We can go back to these ta'weed that we showed you before. The same symbols are there for you to see in the same way that they were before. We can go back and flick through some of the symbols, some of the ta'weed that we saw before. And the same kind of symbols are there. See the same symbols. Same symbols. Here, same symbols. Here, same symbols. Same symbols are coming again and again and again. Here, same symbols. Same symbols. Same symbols. Magic is one religion. It's not the only way that they do it, but this is by far and means all of their methods come back to this. All of their methods come back to this method. So they may develop other alternatives, but they all come back to this same method. We found in the museum, in the Cornish Museum of Magic, some alternative letterings from these. But the same numbers, the same letters, but just different ways of writing them. So sometimes they write alif with a box and ba with a triangle, but it's the same concept, the same letters, the same names of the shayateen that are coming out in the end of it. Here we have this. This is written in Al-Qalam Al-Ruhani, in the same code. This here is written in this code. Do you know what this is? Hadi Khatam Surat Yasin. Allahul Musta'an. They tried to write Surah Yasin. Surah Yasin. What do they say? They say, we have Allah's greatest name. I'm going to write Allah's greatest name for you. And they write these symbols and these letters. And they say, this is Allah's greatest name. It's not Allah's greatest name, it's the shaitan's name. And it's not his, none of his names are great. This is Surah Yasin. Surah Yasin. And they have written Surah Yasin so that you read it from left to right. It reads, each box is a word from one of the ayahs of Surah Yasin. And it says, the top one says, if we do just the left hand corner, it says, فَمِنْهَا, and the bottom one says, وَمِنْهَا يَأْكُلُونَ. The same decoding we just did, same thing. If you were to take your time to decode it, this one would say, فَمِنْهَا, and this one would say, وَمِنْهَا يَأْكُلُونَ. Who memorized Surah Yasin can tell me what the missing word is? رُكُوبَهُمْ, huh? رُكُوبُهُمْ. وَمِنْهَا يأكلون. This word that is supposed to be here, in this box, is supposed to be the missing word between فَمِنْهَا وَمِنْهَا يَأْكُلُونَ. It's supposed to be the missing word here, but it isn't. It is a name from the names of the shaitan. And I can't remember what this one was. It was something really, really weird. وَجَدَدَتْ فَمِنْهَا وَجَدَدَتْ وَمِنْهَا يَأْكُلُونَ. Why? Why would a magician write this? What is he doing? What does every magician do? Disgrace the Quran. He's disgracing the Quran by inserting words. You say, how can you disgrace the Quran by inserting words? وَإِذْ قُلْنَا دَخُلُوا هَذِهِ الْقَرْيَةِ فَكُلُوا مِنْهَا حَيْثُ شِئْتُمْ رَغَدًا وَدَخُلُوا الْبَابَ سُجَّدًا وَقُولُوا حِطَّةً نَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ خَطَايَاكُمْ وَسَنَزِيدُ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. What did Allah Azza wa Jalla say to Bani Israel when we said, enter into the village and eat from it wherever you wish, and enter the door in prostration and say hitta? And some of the ulama, they say hitta means wipe out my sins. What did Bani Israel say when they went through the door? Hinta. Hinta. Instead of hitta, they said hinta. What's the difference between hitta and hinta? One letter. One letter they change in the ta'weed. One letter, and they disgrace the words of Allah Azza wa Jal. This is what they're doing here. One word. Rukubuhum, supposed to be here. Wajadadadat. One of the names of the shaitan, or disgracing the Quran. And it's written all the way along. So the ayah, this is another part of the ayah of Surah Yasin at the end, and in the middle again, wajadadadat. Disgracing the ayat of the Quran. This was given to a person and said, hang it in your house. It is Surah Yasin and it will protect you.